He's ready. There's the snap. There's the spot. Kick away. It is up, and it is good! Jake Bates sends it through!
Welcome to Week 8 of the NFL season.
How did we get here, man?
Week 8 already.
It's insane.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it flies by.
Yeah, it does.
This is the 20 in the Huddle podcast, and you guys might know who this is. Will Burchfield, writer, personality for 97.1, does a lot with Fox 2 as well. A guy who has his kind of toes in a lot of different things.
Just kind of everywhere.
I like
the
that.
Jack of all trades, I guess.
I like that. Well, he's joining me here for the 3 Keys segment, as we do every week in the 20 in the Huddle podcast. And well, let's just get right to it. You look at this Titans football team and you see 1-5, and you say, well, offensively their numbers, are among the worst in the league, but that defense isn't a 1-5 defense, is it? And I think that is going to be a fun matchup with this one, because it's not going to be as easy, I think, as people see the 1-5 record and oh wow, this is an easy win for Detroit. That's a really good defense with some good players.
Yeah, they see the 1-5 record, but maybe don't see the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL,
right,
which is staggering. You go and look at their statistics, and you expect to see a bottom-of-the-barrel team across the board, but this is a really stout defensive line. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons, we all know Jeffrey Simmons, as Campbell just called him, a monster, and he's been a monster for what seems like 5-6 years now. He's just an absolute force up front. But then the rookie playing next to him, Devondre Sweat, is another evolving, growing monster. And he was probably a first-round talent at Texas who slid into the second after, I think, a DWI before the draft. But he has first-round measurables. He's got first-round explosiveness. And those two guys together have formed a wall against the run. They're only allowing, I think, 3.9 yards a carry. That's almost as good as it gets in the NFL. And look, they've got, obviously, an undermanned defense now. They trade Ernest Jones today, who was their second leading tackler and a really physical downhill linebacker, but still a lot up front to handle. And we know Quandre Diggs from his time here, and that's a guy who, A, loves to come down and tackle himself, but also is no stranger to making plays on the ball in the secondary. So there are pieces defensively for this Lions offense to account for.
And L'Jarius Sneed is on this team. People can't forget about that and the success that he had. And then obviously Harold Landry can get after guys. At 45 career sacks, I think he's got 4 on the season. This is, you mentioned, their number 1 team in total defense, but they're number 3 against the pass too. So the Quandre Diggs and Sneed and getting after the quarterback with Landry
can come around the edge well. I mean, there's just a lot of problems that they can pose for a 1-5 team. And as Dan was telling us this morning, it really is for the Titans the fact they haven't taken the ball away much and they've turned it over too often. And if they can just tighten up that turnover differential, they probably go for a 1-5 team to maybe a 3-3 team, and that puts you into playoff conversation. So they have individual pieces that can cause issues, and the Lions offense will have to be at its typical best on Sunday.
That's a great point. It's such a rare thing to have a defense with as many good players as we just talked about, to have 3 takeaways on the season.
It's unseemly.
I mean, you look at Kirby Joseph and Brian Bridge have 4 interceptions. They have 8 just with those 2 guys. You know what I'm saying? So that has been the Achilles heel, but this is going to be a terrific matchup. This is going to be a situation where, Tennessee comes into Detroit, just rolls them. They've gotten off to good starts. It's their offense that has turned the football over too much, put them in bad situations. Their special teams has had some spotty play. They've given up some return touchdowns, and so it's a much better team defensively than people think with that record. 100%.
I think the Lions offense relishes these matchups though, and especially that offensive line. I mean, we get to see best on Sunday. Get to see Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler, if he is healthy enough to go, and Graham Glasgow counter those big horses in the middle in obviously Sweat and Simmons. So it's going to be fun to see them kind of lean back and forth on each other and see who breaks first. And I just always have so much faith in this offensive line and Ragnow kind of leading the charge as the I guess the fulcrum of that offensive line, that I still love this matchup for the Lions. And you don't see many double-digit point spreads in the NFL, but it's not an easy cover. and it's not really an easy win either. The offense will have to. I mean, if they score 40 again, they should be fine. And at this rate, 120 points in their past 3 games. I mean, you can't play any better than that offensively.
You can't play any better than Jared Goff in the way he's playing too.
MVP,
I mean,
right?
When
does the Jared Goff chant become MVP?
And that's
MVP.
That's the next key here is can he keep up this pace? I mean, you look at some of the CBS had the great number this week.
Oh, it's incredible.
That the Lions have scored more touchdowns, 18, than Jared Goff has incompletions, 16 over the past 4 games.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
This is the first time that has been done by any team in a 4-game sample since the merger in
was
what,
it 1970?
1968? I think Wojo was like 35 back then. But they're doing historic, unprecedented things every week. Goff had a passer rating of 140 plus for the 3rd straight week. Only the 4th time that's ever been done. The last 2 guys to do it, Aaron Rodgers in 2011, Kurt Warner in 99. Won MVP that year. So he's doing MVP level things. And obviously it's a conversation that includes Lamar Jackson, as it always seems to, and Josh Allen. But he is right there among Mahomes. Although his numbers aren't all that impressive.
It's Patrick
Kansas
Mahomes.
City, but it's Mahomes. It's Mahomes, yeah. But Goff belongs in that at the forefront of that conversation.
You know, he's 2nd in the league in completion percentage, 2nd in the league in passer rating.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all these numbers where he stacks, he's got the 3rd most 20-plus yard completions. I mean, he has complete control of Ben Johnson's offense. I see them to being able to finish each other's sentences. That's how much they are in tune.
Like the Step Brothers.
And, you know, obviously we all know Ben is a terrific play caller, but it also takes that quarterback to identify what coverage you're seeing, change it into a different play if need be. And that's where I think Jared is just on a whole nother level right now. Yeah. You don't see very many bad plays or them in, terrible situations. He's just really good at knowing, what play to get them into, even if it's a dump down to the running backs. We saw that a bunch, and teams are giving them that. And look, a good quarterback takes that. Tom Brady said it all the time. I'll dink and dunk you to death for 300 yards. Yeah. And they're just moving the football, and he is playing at a level where I think you're right. I think he should be right there in the MVP conversation, and he, in my opinion, is the reason why they're 5-1.
Yeah, and you love completions, especially when the alternative might be a dangerous throw that becomes an interception. And I think we did see Jared, maybe for the first time since his first year here, make those mistakes in the first couple games. He acknowledged it himself. He did say, there were a couple throws against Seattle and even against LA that I probably got away with, where I was trying to do too much, forcing the ball downfield into tight windows to receivers who weren't really open. Ever since that Cardinals game, Campbell called it his reset game. He's been playing clean, not risk averse, but smart football. Like, smart football doesn't have to be always safe football. I thought his best throw last week was maybe his boldest on 1st and 10 on the game-winning drive. They're near midfield, and they could have just run the ball and tried to bleed some more clock, and they probably would have picked up 5-6 yards to carry, as they always do. Instead, he takes like a 9-yard drop and fires a bullet to St. Brown into 2 converging defenders. And if that ball arrives a half second sooner, it's probably over St. Brown's head. A half second later, it's probably picked. And so he has belief in his arm, but he's just making such sound decisions. And then the touchdown to St. Brown, what a beautiful play call. And St. Brown said they had worked that all week, knowing they were going to get that exact look from that exact defense. And when they got it, and Jared saw them bringing 6, and they were playing cover 0. He brings Tim Patrick into motion. He picks up that blitz on the right side of the line.
Yep.
Goff is staring at J-Mill to pull the safety's eyes to the sideline, all the while knowing St. Brown's running free down the seam, hits him on a perfect pass. And it's just like that kind of operation, from the play call to the execution to seeing it, is why he's such a valuable quarterback in the NFL.
I wrote on that play this week on DetroitLions.com, and my point in that article is it's the little things that this offense does. It's the Tim Patrick's blocking. It's Jared getting him to the right play. It's all those little tiny things that are making this product be one of the most exciting to watch in the NFL. And you listen to the national pundits and even just players around the league talk about Detroit and this offense now. They're must-see TV.
Yeah,
they
this
really
offense
is, and that's a fun place to be if you're Jared Goff, Ben Johnson.
Totally, man. And if you're a fan, I mean, I was making this point last weekend, just don't take this team for granted. And I know Lions fans of all fans never would, but if you look around the NFL every Sunday, there are comedy shows.
You see
sometimes week after week after week, and these guys are a good watch, game in, game out. They're easy on the eyes, like even when your heart's in your throat. They're compelling theater. And a lot of teams in the NFL are a hard, ugly watch. I mean, Lions fans know that from this team's past. So to be able to sit down every Sunday and look forward to watching your team play and then having them deliver is a rare place to be in the NFL, and it just shouldn't go unnoticed or unacknowledged.
All right, one of the things that Detroit had to deal with last week, obviously, was the first game without Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
This week, a little bit different of a challenge. Their first game without Jameson Williams, who's going to serve obviously a 2-game suspension. You look at last week's game, 1 catch, -4 yards, and the team still scored 31 points. Yeah. So you look at it and say they can get by. I think the biggest impact to me, Will, is going to be what it does to opposing defenses and how defenses will maybe change because it's the JMO effect that helps this offense, and it's the fear of his speed. Like, we can count on one hand the guys that can run as fast as Jameson Williams in this league. I mean, Tyreek Hill, we're talking about that type of speed, and defenses have to account for that. Ben Johnson talked about the Dallas game where they played a lot of too high to start, and so okay, you're going to play too high. Well, we'll run the football, and you run the football for to the tune of 180 some yards. But that's because teams are doing that too high because they fear Jameson Williams, that speed, and Detroit hit on some of those big plays early. They put it on tape, and so it'll be interesting to me to see how Tennessee reacts to not having that speed, not having that guy that can take the top off the defense. Will they focus more on the run game, and how does Detroit counter that?
Yeah, I mean, we saw JMO's effect on St. Brown's touchdown last week. He doesn't obviously touch the ball, but the threat of his speed demanded the safety's attention. As soon as Jared looked his way, the entire defense shifted in the secondary towards JMO. That allows St. Brown to run open down the seam, 35-yard touchdown. So he's a rare player in that he doesn't really have to touch the ball to change the entire game or to bend the defense. And I do think that will change a little bit. The Lions have a lot of faith, though, in Khalif Raymond. I mean, talk about a pillar, like a building block of this organization. Like totally, man. And as Campbell told us today, he's got some speed now, too. I mean, did you see what he did to Stephon Gilmore on his release on his touchdown last week? He put him in a blender, and Gilmore hit the deck. Like, you don't see many 10-year vets hit the deck. And I think they'll utilize him some more. We might see some Allen Robinson. I think Tim Patrick scores his first Lions touchdown this Sunday. That's my bold prediction. I was talking to Tim Patrick last week, and he was just telling me how much he has enjoyed being part of this offense because he said it's so fun going to the field every Sunday knowing that everybody's a little bit psycho. He said, I love that. I love that everyone here is like-minded. The receivers love to block. They really, truly enjoy it. That's true of Tim Patrick as well. But you can see the developing rapport between he and Jared Goff. And I think Jared Goff more and more is trusting Tim Patrick down the field. I think he's a great red zone target. I think we'll see Tim Patrick show up more and more this Sunday.
I think he solidified that wide receiver group.
Totally.
And he gave them something they didn't have. 6'5", 210. You know, you got a big frame. You're a big target.
Not many guys like that just walking around
and
the
quarterbacks
NFL.
Love guys like that. I mean,
it's why Jared loved Josh Reynolds because he made all of those plays that Tim Patrick seems equipped to make.
And he's willing and able to come in here and block. He's taken on that mentality. He's tried to fit in. He's really good. I agree with you. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll see a little bit different of coverage than what they would. Jameson be on the field, and you hope Jameson's back quickly after the 2 games, but I just don't see this offense skipping a beat. Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, they got so many guys and so many weapons, and Ben will come up with something, and I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, anytime Dan starts to run down the list of we still have this guy and that guy and that guy and this guy and this guy and that guy, you're like, oh my God, they do have so much to work with still. I mean, I think they'll be all right.
Well, it should be a fun one. After 2 weeks on the road back in Ford Field, it's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy in there. It should be a fun one. You will be there. You can catch all his stuff on 97.1, and obviously does a lot with Fox too.
Check us
he
out.
is Will Burchfield, a man that is around town. A lot of
man about town.
A man about town. Thanks for joining me so much, Will. Appreciate your insight, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll do hockey talk next time.
I love it. Welcome back to the Twentyman the Huddle podcast, and I've been waiting for this one all week now. I've got Lions kicker Jake Bates in with me, or I should say the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Jake Bates, just what a whirlwind of a week, right?
Yeah, it's been crazy. A lot of people are starting to figure out about my story. So people have been reaching out to me about being a former brick salesman and stuff. So because that kind of got blown out of proportion, but it's been a fun week. I'm ready to put that aside and get ready for the Titans this week.
All right. So, look, you're growing up in Tomball, Texas. I said that right. Mm-hmm. All right. And you are one heck of a soccer player. What's the goal? What's the dream back when you're that soccer player in Tomball, Texas?
The dream is to play overseas. Go to England, Spain, something like that. Play overseas, play in the World Cup, and represent our country and stuff like that. And that was always the dream until really once I was probably 17 or 18, probably realizing I wasn't that good. Maybe just college, but when I was little, I wanted to go overseas and do that thing. So
when did this whole football thing start kicking, start churning, that opportunity come for you?
Really, like over COVID. So I transferred from UCA where I was playing soccer, and I kind of came to the realization I was done with soccer, but I didn't want to be done with sports. So I was like, what can I do? I've been kicking a ball. Let's see if we can, find our way somewhere. And so during like the lockout, I was at home and I would just send video out to like every school. And I got one response from Texas State for their special teams coach. And
he takes one, right?
Just takes one. And he knows how thankful I am for him. But yeah, just takes one. I got one opportunity and was able to walk on there and do 2 years there, and then one at Arkansas, and I had a blast with it.
But you're kicking, you're kind of a kickoff specialist, right? You're not getting a real opportunity to be a place kicker, and so you go through, you graduate. Just take me through what the next steps were when you were done. How much interest did the NFL have, and kind of what did that look like right after school and that opportunity?
Yeah, it was tough because, like, realistically, I knew I didn't kick in college, so who's going to take a chance on me? But I wanted to take it if it was there. So I was training with this guy named Adam Tanowski and up in Buffalo with a bunch of other really good kickers that were coming out that year, just getting ready for pro day. And then like no one knew who I was going into pro day, and then I had a pretty good pro day, and they started asking coaches like, why wasn't he kicking field goals? And it's like, well, we actually have this guy named Cam Little, who's now the kicker for the Jags. Mm-hmm. He was the guy that was above me at Arkansas. So I was like, I wasn't going to, here's a freshman All-American, ended up getting drafted. It's just superstar kicker and one of my best friends. But I had a really good kicker ahead of me, and I was just kind of waiting my turn. So that was kind of, the cards that were dealt. But, I got a chance with Houston. I had a local day with them, and then got a chance with Houston in the preseason last year. And so really that was it. It was kind of more questions of, who is this kid more so than like actual interest.
And obviously, you don't make the Houston team, you get cut, you think football's over. You're thinking about life beyond it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously the brick salesman story from last week and everything else, but then this opportunity comes, and how did the UFL kind of fall into place there?
Yeah, I was working, and I got a random call from my agent, and he was like, hey, I think the Michigan team's going to sign you. And I was like, okay.
Did they have any affiliation with Houston or anything like that?
Not that I know of. I mean,
isn't this just so random? How all this kind of just
craziest thing. I think that's such a testament to God's faithfulness and the way that He can plan stuff out perfectly. And it was just like a random day. I got a call, and then he was like, I'm gonna call you back in like an hour. And I was at work. I was like, how am I supposed to get any work done?
Right.
And then he called me back. He was like, hey, they're gonna sign you. And then after that, it was a whole waiting game because I didn't know there was some weird rules with being protected in that league, and there was just some new stuff coming on. So I didn't exactly know what being signed meant, but I got signed and then ended up quitting the brick job and trained for the training camp with the UFL.
And obviously had a successful UFL season, had the big kicks, and that leads to the signing here. And I want to take you back, Jake, just to training camp. And Michael gets hurt, and just the faith that this organization showed in you, that they didn't go quick sign a bunch of guys or a veteran guy. Like they were like, look, we think this Jake Bates kid has something, and we're going to develop him, and we're going to stick with him. What did that mean to you when they kind of had your back early on? And like we just talked about, you didn't have a ton of experience. For them to have that faith in you.
Yeah, it was awesome. Obviously, at this position, having a coach that believes in you can be, the difference between, a nothing career and a long career, and hopefully, I'm the latter. But Coach Phipp and Coach Campbell were so good to me, knowing that there was going to be struggles as I'm a young kicker and didn't have a ton of game experience, and they were so instrumental and still are, and not letting me get down on myself, and not letting kicks get too big. And I think they do such a good job of putting me in situations in practice that help translate to the game. And I couldn't have asked for better coaching staff, better front office, players around me with Jack and Hogan and Scott, who was here during training camp, people that have been there and done that. And I really couldn't have asked for a better situation with people around me.
People don't realize how key that whole operation is. They obviously see the kick and it's made or miss, but that snap, that hold, and look, it was something that Jack, admits he wasn't really good at when he first got here, and he's done a lot to improve that portion of his game. Just how lucky do you feel you are having, guys that have been doing it for a while in Jack, and then Hogan, who comes here, takes a veteran's job, so he's got the talent, and that operation has really been seamless.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hogan is a tremendous talent. He's snapping the ball at a really high level, and then Jack, as far as his holding, he there's something so big about a holder that cares about holding, and he does, and he wants to be good at it. He wants to make sure that he's giving me what I want and that thing, and that's just so big for me, like being able to trust him, because I know he wants to do well, and he's already talented, and he wants to get better. And it's just awesome to be around guys like that.
You hit the game winner, 15 seconds left. We have to talk about the dance. What was it? Where'd it come from? And you see him, and Phipp talked about this Thursday too, which is funny. He's like, he's such a serious guy. Like he comes here, he puts his head down. He's all about the work, and to see him have that huge smile and kind of pull out the dance, like Phipp loved it, and I'm curious where it came from.
It's just this family on Instagram. They do that dance, and I thought it was just gonna be a kind of like a little thing between me and Jack, and obviously it got caught on camera. I'm not a big celebrator. Like, I like to be kind of calm. I don't know. I'm really not a big celebrator. That's like the first time I've ever done something like that. So I think I'm gonna keep that, to a minimum. But no, it was a fun moment, and obviously, you could see the big smile on my face, and what it meant to put that through and help this team.
Are you nervous at all, or is it just you've done this so much now? I mean, you're six games into the season. Yeah. It's not like it's your first game. It was obviously one of your first big kicks. But were there nerves coming out? Is it hard not to be nervous, or was it just kind of business as usual? Like how have you gotten to that point?
There's nerves for every kick. Yeah. And that's just kind of what the job entails, is making every kick the same. And obviously that's so much easier said than done, but if you let a kick get too big, or one that's early in the game and it doesn't matter, you need to make sure that every kick's the same in your mind and in your routine. And I think that's something that I was able to do a good job of. And then I have people around me, like we were just talking about, that are so great in those situations that make me feel confident.
What's it like working and playing with Phipp? He's one of my favorite the coordinators that we've ever had here. You just to listen to him talk, the experiences that he's had, how instrumental has Phipp been for you?
It's been huge, especially he's had such a good track record of kickers, and just meeting with him and him being able to give me confidence, and the way that he sees the game and sees our position is huge. And like I said earlier, I really couldn't have picked a better spot. And from the second that I met with Phipp, it was, I just wanted to be here, and I wanted to play for him. And he's one of those coaches that you want to do good for, because he's so good to you, and he works so hard. And so it's one of those things where I want to do good for him, because I respect him so much, and he's helped me so much.
All right, you had big kicks in the UFL. You had 60-yarders. Where's the line for you? Where does Dan Campbell know that okay, it's late in the game, it's a tie game, most guys can't probably make this kick, but where do they feel comfortable?
I don't know.
Jake Bates going back to.
I don't know. I think whatever they feel comfortable.
What's the longest you've ever had? On the ground, it doesn't have to be a hole, but like with the ball holder or something like that. Do you have?
I don't know. I really don't stretch it out too much.
No.
Like sometimes it gets fun,
You don't
but
get curious.
Sometimes, like during summer and stuff, it gets fun to back it up a little bit, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, let me do this. NFL tying 66-yard field goal. You'd feel good about being able to have a swing at it.
I would like to get a swing at that. Yeah,
all right.
I think I would like to. Yeah.
Well, you've had a swing at 10 so far. You've made all 10. You have been a terrific addition here. Obviously, with the kicking, 20 to 21 on extra points. The NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Hit the game-winning kick last week. You're doing a terrific job. Keep it up, and thanks for joining the podcast. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome back to the 20 in the Huddle podcast presented by Microsoft, and I am very happy to welcome in Jim Wyatt. He does a great job with the Tennessee Titans, the senior writer and editor over there. Jim, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing well. Obviously, two teams, a little bit different situations. I've obviously been in your shoes before. It's tough when you get off to a start like that. And I guess, the one thing from a Lions guy to a Tennessee guy is look, this Lions team started 1-6 a couple years ago and went on a run, and we're one game away from making the playoffs. So teams can turn this thing around. I'm sure you've been around this league a long time. You know that too. A rough start. Well, let's start with the breaking news of the week. Obviously DeAndre Hopkins, being traded to Kansas City. Just how big of a loss is that for this Tennessee Titans offense?
Well, he's a loss just because we know what kind of player DeAndre Hopkins is and what he's done throughout his career. I'll be honest with you. I mean, this year, just the way things have gone, he just hasn't been utilized that much. I don't know that a lot is going to change as the Titans offense goes. I mean, we all know the career he's had. When you look at the stats from this year, DeAndre Hopkins has, 15 catches for 173 yards and 1 touchdown. He had 1 catch for -2 last week, and most weeks he's been pretty invisible. So, Chiefs clearly getting a good player in DeAndre Hopkins. He just wasn't being utilized here that much, so I don't know that you're going to see a huge difference in the offense. They tried to get Calvin Ridley on track. That hasn't happened. The whole passing game has struggled getting on track, and this will make things difficult because when DeAndre Hopkins is out there, we know that changes things around him. So be on even more guys to kind of do more as the Titans try to get this thing turned around.
Obviously that passing game relies so heavily on the quarterback position, Jim, and Will Levis dealing with a shoulder injury. Do you have a sense of who it'll be Sunday in Detroit? Will it be Mason Rudolph? Will it be Will Levis, or is that still kind of yet to be determined?
Yeah, I think Wednesday's practice is going to tell me a lot because, a lot of this hinges on Will and how he feels and how he looks, and it's a tough spot because he needs rest. I mean, Brian Callahan said it, Will has said it. He needs rest, but they want him to play, and they want him to play at a high level, and you can't rest him during the course of the week and expect him to go out there on Sunday and play at a high level. He has struggled this season. He needs to play. They need to find out what they have in him. That's what a lot of this season was going to be about for the Titans. We're 6 games in. He's played in 5 of them. He's turned the ball over 10 times, 7 interceptions, 3 fumbles. They want to see him work through some of that, but now he's working through a shoulder. So we'll see. I think as the week goes on, we'll have a better idea. You get those clues from the practice report if a guy's limited and how things are trending. Last week, it became very clear when he was limited, full, and then back to limited that they were going with Mason Rudolph. And just depending on how this week goes, we'll probably have some pretty good ideas by the end of the week.
You've highlighted the struggles offensively, but and obviously you look at the record at 1-5. But when I look at this team, I don't see a 1-5 defense over there, Jim. I mean, the defense has really, really played well. I think they're first in overall defense. I think they're top 10 in the league in passing and rush defense, and I think they're top 5 on third downs. That unit has really been good despite the record, right?
I think so. Other than last week in Buffalo, I think it kind of eventually gave way, and I think you see that happen sometimes when you get an offense, you just can't count on doing much. Once you reach a certain level and the point in the game, I'm sure some of those guys think, well, this game's over. I'm just kind of halfway kidding on that, but that's the reality. I mean, you look at what the Titans have done offensively this year. They've scored 17 points, 17 points, 14 points. They had the one game against the Dolphins when they scored 31, but then it was 17 points and 10 points. I mean, you're just not just not getting much production offensively. So the defense is having to play close to perfect football to give them a chance. And, this game kind of came off the rails against Buffalo in the second half, and then that unit pretty much gave way and didn't get a stop in the second half. Buffalo didn't punt. So, Denard Wilson, really good defensive coordinator. His players really like him. They've got some really good talent on defense. But it's not a perfect group either. I mean, they're not creating turnovers. They're not getting critical stops when they need to. There have been some times in games this season where the Titans have had leads and they've needed the defense to get a stop at a key time, and they haven't done it. So no one deserves any ribbons around here when you're 1-5, and that's offense, defense, special teams.
Obviously, unfamiliar opponents don't see the Tennessee Titans that often. Jim, who's maybe a player that's caught your eye or that could catch Lions fans' eyes, maybe that they don't know real well, is not that national name, but a guy that you like and is playing pretty well, obviously, despite the record?
A couple of guys to keep an eye on. I mean, Tony Pollard is a tough back. Everybody knows him. He's been in the league for a while and had some success in Dallas. He's not Derrick Henry. And we all know Derrick Henry's continuing to chug along in Baltimore. But Tony Pollard's has really run the ball well, and he's a tough runner, and he's given this team something on offense when it hasn't had a lot around them. So I'd expect to see a lot of Tony Pollard on Sunday, and Lions fans will see a guy who will get some tough yards. I think defensively, Zavondre Sweat is going to be a really good player. The big nose tackle that's in the middle of that line, the second round pick out of Texas. He's going to be a force. He's had his moments up and down as far as being disruptive and making an impact, but big number 93 is a guy to keep an eye on. Jarvis Brownlee's getting a chance to play a little bit because Chidobe Awuzi's on IR. And Jarvis Brownlee, the draft pick cornerback out of Louisville, is a feisty, scrappy corner who will be competing snap in and snap out. Those are a couple of young guys on defense, and then a veteran on offense. And then this is kind of a new team offensively, a new identity with Brian Callahan as head coach. So much new. I mentioned Derrick Henry's not here anymore. Now DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be here anymore, and so they're still trying to find their way. J.C. Latham, first-round pick, left tackle out of Alabama, has probably been the best, if not the second best player on the offensive line. I think he'll continue to get better, and then we'll see. Titans got a challenge. I mean, the Lions will be the best team they faced this year for sure, and they're coming off a game and they lost 34-10.
Yeah, and it's a tough environment at Ford Field. The Detroit's been away for a couple weeks, so those fans will be excited to have their team back. They'll be loud. It's one of the tougher places to play in this league. And obviously the Lions offense and Jared Goff is playing at an elite level right now. So, I think that'll be a good matchup between, Tennessee's defense and this potent Lions offense. But maybe finally, Jim, how does Tennessee come into Detroit Sunday and walk out with their second win? How do you see that possible? What has to happen for Tennessee to get that win Sunday?
Well, they got to score points. I mentioned the offensive struggles. I mean, you're not going to win many games when you're scoring in the teens, certainly not against the Lions who are going to score. So they got to get things solved. And I don't know that they're going to solve it, but they got to have a breakthrough game on offense to give themselves a chance. They got to create turnovers. That's one thing this team has not done, is create turnovers. Other teams have made game-changing plays against them. The Titans, have not been doing that. So they're going to have to make some plays on defense that gives them the ball in good field position. And then, you have to avoid mistakes on special teams. That's been another area for this team that's cost them. The game in Chicago in week 1, Titans led that game 17-0, and it turned because they got a punt block that went for a touchdown, and the momentum went straight to the Bears. Had another punt block the following week. They've had trouble with protection. So they better clean it up on special teams, better get some turnovers on defense, and better find a way to score some points. That's the only way they're going to have a chance to hang in this game and have a chance to win going in the fourth quarter. And they need to catch the Lions on a bad day because the Lions don't have a lot of bad days. That's a really good team that knows how to win, and this team hadn't figured out how to do that yet.
Yeah, it's a young team. It's a young coach. Like we dealt with it when Dan came here a couple years ago. It just takes time. Sometimes you've got to get your guys and you've got to get your culture built and the way you're going to win football games. And you guys are still figuring out there at Tennessee. We've been through it too. I know it's tough, but I am looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. Jim Wyatt, one of the best in the business. I appreciate you taking the time, and we will see you on Sunday, my friend.
Okay, Tim, I appreciate it. Good luck to you.